And I noticed, as I look across that lake, I noticed there's something huge in the air. I thought that there was no way there's a helicopter out here, especially in winter. Or I don't think a helicopter would be flying late at night. Or I don't think a jet plane would be flying at low or staying one place in the air. But you can see the lake and the mountains, roughly, and how huge it was over there. The size of it, I would say, is as big as a football field. As you see now, when I seen up, it's so bright though, and kind of like a saucer shape, like as it went over. It's bright, there's lights all over underneath. But it had lights on the side too, as you see. You can clearly see little windows, like almost like on the side. You see under it, kind of like a plate, almost like a long plate or whatever underneath, like when it went over. What is that? I was wondering. I couldn't fit. And the radio went all bzzz. Wouldn't work. Couldn't get through on that. And I looked on both ways of the road, and I noticed there was a lineup of vehicles, people looking. Their eyes just huge. I don't know how long I stayed there. Just stand there in shock, I guess, before I went back and my cousin and asked, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And yes, I got back into the truck and started up and kept going. I heard stories a long time ago from other people. They see things following their vehicles. Around Fox Lake area too, I heard before. And not too long ago, even up the Asia Road. But I don't know what to say, what it was. I don't know if it's human have that technology for something that huge. I mean, look how much noise a helicopter makes just to get off the ground and to hover. And then it makes a lot of noise. This thing is big as a football field and not make a sound, just come over like that.
I was sitting at the table. It was getting later at night, and there's usually people coming back from Whitehorse, and this fella came in, Danny Skookum from Carmack's. And Danny's a good friend of mine, and he's quite excited, and he starts telling me about this object he saw at Little Fox Lake, and he's describing it to me in quite a bit of detail.
As I pulled into Braeburn, there was a lot of people there, and everybody was gathered around. They were all excited, and everybody was talking about it.
A little while later, another car come in, and this other fella, he was quite excited too. They were really excited, and they come in. I think he had some people with him, and he sat down. We all started talking about it, and he starts drawing the exact same thing that Danny had just told me. He drew it, and while he was doing this, a bunch of other people came in from Pelly, and they described the same thing that was being drawn. And it was kind of weird, like they were pretty excited about it, because they all realized that they all saw the same thing.
And when I come into that clearing, I noticed out of the corner of my eye a strange light, and I turned and looked at it, and it was a green beam. And I thought, oh, 747 is coming down. And then I looked at it, and it was moving very, very slow. So I turned to get a full view of it. And when I turned, my flashlight beam pointed in that direction. And that thing was 3/4 of a mile to a mile away when I first saw it. And as soon as my flashlight beam turned, that thing went whoosh, and it was about 300 yards away. Really, really fast. And when it did that, I covered my light. And then I stood there watching it, and I could no longer look at it without turning and looking at it by turning my head.
I was driving back from Whitehorse with my brother, and we were close to Pelly. We were only a few kilometers out of Pelly when he looked over at me and said, "Holy shit, Jean." And he was looking up in the sky, and so I followed his gaze, and I seen sort of a huge clusters of stars all together. And right away I realized that it was a vehicle, and it was traveling at a very slow rate of speed, and I could see it above the hill, and it went just below the Big Dipper in the sky, and it was the same length as the Big Dipper.
Out of the back of it was two lights, two white beams that were down on a 45-degree angle, and out of the front of it was a green beam, and those beams had to be about 4 feet in diameter, both the one in front and the two behind.
You couldn't see the outline of the UFO, but you could see the lights. There was lights on the side of the vehicle going like up and down, and then there was individual lights for several stories.
I couldn't see the shape of the hull. It was dark of the moon. There was no moon. But I could see that a great portion of the sky was blacked out, the stars. I couldn't see the stars. And I watched that for probably 4 to 5 minutes. And very, very slowly it kept going to where it was coming behind me, and it was starting to disappear behind the treetops. So I run across that little clearing, probably about 4 or 5 steps I was across. I turned around and looked, and it was gone.
It looked like something that huge shouldn't be moving in a straight line at that speed, to my mind. Everything was kind of, I was really surprised to see it. I was excited, scared, and all these emotions sort of surfaced at the same time.
At the time, it was just awe that this thing could move so silently. There was no motor sound. It was just floating. And in how I understand aeronautics, it can't do that. So I was thinking, geez, this is amazing. And then after that it left and was gone, I thought, geez, why did I cover my light? I might have been able to go up there and visit with those, whatever.
We saw it for, I'd say a few minutes anyway. And then the lights on it went blink, blink, blink in different sections of the spaceship. And then it disappeared. You couldn't see it at all, and you couldn't hear anything.
And then after this happened, I got home probably around 10 o'clock, and they were watching a video. And believe it or not, that video was Independence Day. And they were just watching the scene where the alien ship opened up and shot the blast down. And I come in, all excited. You'll never guess what I saw. And so I relayed my story, and then all of them became very, very frightened. In fact, our grandchildren didn't want to go out for a good week. They didn't want to be out at night.
Like it was a complete surprise to both my brother and myself. So I asked him, I said, well, what do you think of it? And he said, maybe it's us in the future coming back to see ourselves. But that would be pretty outrageous.
Who knows if it's man-made or something from outer space, but they definitely saw what they saw. And this area is known that people see different stuff, though, so that's unexplainable. Who knows? Maybe it was a mass hallucination, but I doubt it. And it was definitely a manufactured thing that they saw. Somebody made it, or something made it, or whoever.
Keep watching the sky. You may see what I saw. And if you see it, believe it. If you don't see it, don't scoff at those who do. But too many are telling the story for it to be a hoax. Too many have seen. Yeah. They're out there.
I believe there's something out there now that I've seen it myself with my own eyes.
We know something's there somewhere. It's not like we can't deny it because we don't know.
Well, there are unanswered questions. We're taught not to believe in UFOs. We're taught not to believe in all sorts of things, and humans do as they're told.
We can't say there isn't anybody out there or any other than it would be kind of silly to say that. You know, to tell you the truth, I think we'd be pretty naive.
If I see something on a busy highway like this, and a lot of other people seen it, it's got to be other people seen stuff here in the territory. Not only in the territory, but around the world, perhaps.
I think the biggest thing would be they're afraid of losing face or looking silly, or people won't believe them. So, you know, we're taught not to believe in things like this, so they follow the code.
A lot of them, their sanity might be questioned. There might be some individuals that are in the reserves that's seen it, and, you know, might even get kicked out of the reserve.
I went to the post office and the next day, and I saw the RCMP there, and I told him, I said, well, I saw that big UFO that flew over last night. And he said, that was no UFO, that was a meteor breaking up. And I said, well, I hope to heck you're right, because if you're not, there was somebody behind the wheel driving it. No one talks about it because the governments don't acknowledge the fact that these things exist. There was a news story about this particular UFO on the radio the next morning, but that's all it was. Like, people seen this. There's nothing that says whether any airports had it on their radar screen or what it was, or, you know, there's no answers. Absolutely no answers. Well, there's certainly UFOs in the Bible. All through the Bible, there's a whole bunch of passages. In fact, when Moses went up to the mountain to visit with God, here came God flying towards him on a cloud. So God's cloud came and landed, and and he got out of the cloud and talked to Moses and supposedly gave him the 10 Commandments. So there's several different places in the Bible where they mention spacecraft, and all of the mythology have little people and big people and all different sort of beings that are not human. All the mythology from around the world.
I think they've been around for a while. It's got to be with a technology like that. They're light years ahead.
They have been here for a long time. Even I wonder if we are an experiment, whether they placed us here and then just come and check on us every once in a while. We're far too smart to be an animal. Far too smart, and we evolve very fastly. We come up, look at the last 100 years, from the crank telephone to internet in 100 years. I think we're very intelligent beings. I think we're part of them out there. And I think one day we will remember that.
And I don't know what their agenda is or where they're from, whether they're from Earth, whether they're from outer space. So it's hard to say what it was, or I have no idea who was driving the thing.